Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really jumping into an extraordinary story. It's all about resilience, identity, and just, well, the incredible endurance of a group of people.
That's right.
Get ready because we're going to uncover the fascinating history of the Minorcans of Northeast Florida. You know, these unique Mediterranean islanders. We'll dig into who they are, where they came from, and maybe most importantly, how they actually managed to hold on to their distinct culture through centuries of, profound change, how they adapted and ultimately thrived in a new world.
And we've got some great sources for this deep dive, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. Really rich stuff. It's like a tapestry woven from, detailed historical reports, but also these really poignant personal accounts that should bring the whole narrative to life for you.
Yeah, and our mission here, as we kind of sift through all this, is to pull out the key insights. How did this relatively small group of islanders facing just immense and often brutal hardship forge such an unbreakable identity in a totally new world?
It's that staying power you mentioned.
Exactly. What's truly fascinating, like you said, is just the sheer, undeniable staying power of their culture, their community, and what that legacy actually means for the region today. It's quite something.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We need to start back in the pretty tumultuous 18th century. Picture Florida around 1763.
Right after the Treaty of Paris.
Exactly. It had just switched from Spanish to British control. Huge opportunity, right? And into this scene steps Dr. Andrew Turnbull, Scottish physician. He's got this incredibly ambitious plan, maybe tragically flawed in the end.
Definitely flawed. He got a massive land grant, huge, over 100,000 acres. And his idea was to set up this vast indigo plantation.
And just quickly, for anyone unfamiliar, indigo plantations were big farms, right?
Yeah.
Growing the indigo plant for the super valuable blue dye, a major cash crop back then.
A very big deal, yeah. So Turnbull sets this up, names the place New Smyrna. It's about 70 miles south of St. Augustine.
Quite a ways down the coast then.
And Turnbull's vision, it was grand, all right. He needed a ton of labor. So he starts recruiting all across the Mediterranean around 1767.
Where did he look?
Initially, he aimed for 500 Greeks, but he only managed about 200 from mainland Greece. But then on Menorca, Spanish island, he had way more success.
Why there specifically?
Well, mostly because of economic hardship on the island at the time. People were looking for opportunities. Plus, a lot of Italian men had married Menorcan women, and they joined up too.
Ah, okay.
So it ended up being around 1,000 Menorcans signing on. And in April 1768, Turnbull leaves Menorca, 8 ships, carrying, get this, 1,403 indentured servants.
Wow, 1,400 people. That's huge.
It was massive. These were folks contracting to work for a set time, usually to pay off their passage. Mostly Minorcans, like we said, but still, over 500 Greeks and 110 Italians thrown into the mix, all bound by the same, perilous promise.
And that promise, it was simple, wasn't it? But powerful. Land and freedom after, 9 years of service?
Typically 9 years, yeah.
For people facing poverty, limited options back home, that must have sounded like a dream, a real beacon of hope, a better life in this, land of opportunity.
Exactly what they were sold.
And here's where it gets really interesting and honestly just heartbreaking. The reality waiting for them at New Smyrna, it was just a brutal, stark contrast to those promises, a truly harrowing chapter.
Oh, absolutely. The conditions were, catastrophic right from the get-go. Turnbull had only provisioned for 500 workers, not the 4,403 who actually showed up.
That's less than half.
Right. And then, to make things even worse, a really crucial supply ship. It wrecked before it even got there.
Oh, no.
So they were severely undersupplied from day one. They get there, they're pushed into these uncleared mangrove swamps, forced to drain and clear land for planting before they even had proper shelter.
Just thrown into the wilderness.
Pretty much. Plus, constant fear. Fear of Native American tribes, fear of dangerous wildlife like alligators. That made it hard, even dangerous, to try and forage for extra food. It just pushed them right to the brink. Life was just extreme privation, immense suffering.
I honestly can't even begin to imagine that. The daily grind, the constant fear, just trying to stay alive in that kind of environment. It really makes you think about what hardship actually means.
It was incredibly dire. Food shortages were rampant. That led to widespread malnutrition, disease.
Scurvy, malaria,
gangrene, you name it. And if workers were seen as, slacking, the punishments were unbelievable. Brutal beatings, being locked in stockades, sometimes even chained to heavy iron balls. People got desperate. At one point, 300 colonists tried to seize a ship, sail south, just escape, but they were captured. 2 were executed as a brutal warning to the others.
Just horrific. What about the death toll?
Catastrophic is the only word. By the end of 1768 alone, that's just months after they arrived, 450 people had died.
450 out of 1,400.
Yeah, that's a mortality rate of like 320 per thousand. Nearly a third of them gone in just a few months. To give you some perspective, that's like the death toll after a major natural disaster.
But
it just kept going.
For years.
For years. In less than 10 years, nearly 1,000 workers died. Malnutrition, disease, and the final insult. Turnbull argued their 9-year contracts wouldn't even start until the plantation's massive debts were paid off.
What? So they were trapped?
Essentially, yeah. Trapped in endless servitude, the promise was completely broken.
So those promises of land, freedom, not just broken, but actively denied, replaced by what really sounds like forced labor under just nightmarish conditions. The sheer scale of that suffering, the day-in, day-out grind, the constant loss, it really makes you wonder what kind of, I don't know, unseen strength or collective spirit emerged. How did they not just endure, but somehow find a way to eventually thrive? What deep human need for community kicked in during all that adversity?
That's really the core question, isn't it? This is the insight we need to unearth. Because it wasn't just survival. It was the forging of this unbreakable collective identity, born directly from that shared trauma.
Right.
The extreme hardship, the betrayal. Paradoxically, it almost stripped away the individual differences, Greek, Italian, Minorcan, and it cemented this desperate mutual reliance, this crucible of suffering. It became the ultimate bonding agent. It created a collective will to resist, to survive. And that laid the foundation for their future resilience.
That deep sense of shared suffering, mutual reliance, must have been an incredibly powerful catalyst. And it did lead somewhere, right? There was a turning point.
Yes, finally. After 9 grueling, deadly years, by the fall of 1777, the survivors, there were only about 600 left by then, a fraction of the original group, they just had enough.
Understandably.
They made that arduous journey 70 miles north to St. Augustine to petition the East Florida governor, Patrick Tonin, for their freedom. It's hard to fathom the courage, the desperation that must have fueled that trek.
70 miles after everything they'd been through?
Absolutely. And Tonin, well, he happened to have a pretty contentious relationship with Turnbull anyway.
Politics.
Maybe a bit of that.
Yeah.
But he was surprisingly receptive to their pleas. He granted them refuge. He actually allocated an area for them in the northwest part of the old walled city of St. Augustine for their settlement.
So a safe haven, finally.
A safe haven, yes.
Yeah.
And that relocation, absolutely crucial for their survival, yes, but also for forming what became this distinct, resilient community. It gave them sanctuary, a new start away from New Smyrna's horrors, and let them rebuild together.
And their steadfastness, it really is remarkable. It wasn't just surviving that journey to St. Augustine. It was their choice, their deliberate choice to stay, to build anew, again and again, right, through Spanish rule coming back in 1784.
With the Peace of Paris Treaty, yeah.
And then again when Florida joined the U.S. in 1821. They stayed put. That commitment, it suggests something more than just inertia, doesn't it?
It really does.
So how did this core group, through all those centuries of change and, inevitable intermarriage, how did they keep such a potent, distinct identity? Why didn't they just sort of melt into the broader Florida culture?
That's an excellent question, and it's so central to their story. This incredible tenacity, what you call their staying power, it's key to understanding their enduring identity. Several factors, really.
Like what?
Well, one big one was religion, being Catholic, in what was mostly a Protestant British and later American culture. That provided a really strong unifying force.
Ah, okay.
A shared anchor.
Exactly. Their identification with the church kept them cohesive, maybe somewhat set apart from the larger society. It gave them a shared moral framework, a community hub.
So Catholicism acted as a kind of cultural anchor for them, a foundation in a world that kept changing around them.
Precisely. And beyond that, maybe even stronger, were the family bonds. Incredibly powerful. Susan Parker from the St. Augustine Historical Society, she notes just how cohesive they've been since the colonial period.
So it goes way back, way back. And Sam Floyd, he's a descendant. He puts it very simply. He says, if you trace the family trees back, you find we're all related.
Wow.
He even jokes, be careful if you say something bad about anybody from Mayport, because it might be your cousin.
Right. CoastNet doesn't even cover it.
It really doesn't. It shows how interwoven these families became, a really dense social network. And this wasn't just abstract kinship, it translated into real, tangible community support.
That's a beautiful picture of community, that kind of solidarity. But I wondered, did that strong internal cohesion, did it ever cause friction? Challenges integrating with the wider, evolving society in Florida? Was there a tension there between keeping their identity and being part of the bigger picture?
That's a really insightful question. And yes, I think there probably was some tension. While that cohesion was their strength, absolutely vital for survival and identity, it almost certainly created a degree of maybe self-segregation, especially early on.
Right, out of necessity.
Exactly. The need for mutual support probably just outweighed any desire for broader integration back then. As generations passed, sure, the distinction softened somewhat, but that core identity, it persisted. And we see this deep-seated support in anecdotes, like one from Sam Passetti.
Who's Sam Pichetti?
He's a musician, 41 years old now. He shared this really poignant memory from when he was like 12 or 13. He was out hunting with his father, and his dad started having heart attack symptoms.
How scary.
Terrifying for a kid. Young Sam races to the truck, gets on the CB radio, remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Puts out this desperate call for help. He remembers his dad actually started feeling better as they walked out of the woods, but what really stuck with him, he said, was this. I couldn't count the number of trucks that were already there waiting.
Wow, just from the radio call.
Just from the call. He said, this was family. When the chips were down, these were the people who were there to back you up. That kind of immediate, unwavering support.
Yeah.
It just highlights the practical strength, the deep loyalty in their community, a real legacy of that shared adversity from generations ago.
Wow. That is such a powerful image. Family really meaning the whole community. A deep, practical, social contract. So, okay, what does all this mean for their unique identity today? This blend of deep roots, faith, family bonds. How does it actually show up in the everyday lives of their descendants?
It means their identity is something, lived, experienced daily.
Yeah.
A bit like the Cajuns, maybe, where food and religion become these really central focus points.
Right, tangible things.
Exactly. Their culture isn't just history books. It's about these traditions that have kept them together.
Yeah.
Take the datil pepper. It's like the quintessential Menorcan tradition in Florida.
Even though it's not actually from Menorca, right?
Right. Isn't that fascinating? It's not native to the island itself. The belief is it probably arrived via trade routes, maybe from the Caribbean with early settlers, or perhaps even from Africa. But they adopted it.
And made it their own.
Totally. Sam Floyd famously says, if you don't eat datil pepper sauce, you ain't a Minorcan. You've got families like the Usinas, they've been raising datils, making sauces, jams for like 50 years. Though Mike Usina, he admits he's kind of tired of messing with them now that everyone else sells them too.
Uh-huh.
Understandable.
But that adoption, that intense ownership of a non-native plant, it says so much about how cultures absorb, adapt, make something truly their own. It's become this deep culinary marker, a taste of home.
I love that, a culinary secret handshake. It really shows how everyday things become these sacred markers of belonging. And speaking of origins, you can't think about island people without the sea, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that heritage play out here in Florida, especially after being forced inland at first?
Oh, absolutely central. Once they got that sanctuary in St. Augustine, their island roots really came through. Many naturally went back to making a living from the sea.
Fishermen, boat builders, skilled boat builders, yeah. River pilots, fishermen, shrimpers. They became a huge part of Florida's maritime economy. And mullet, the local fish, that was a staple, super abundant off the Florida coast.
Can't escape the mullet.
Hardly not. Mike Usina, he's 75 now, he jokes he was 12 before he knew there was any other fish than mullet. He had it boiled, barbecued, fried, smoked, cakes, chowder, everything.
Sounds like overkill.
He admits now he's sick of it and prefers flounder. But back in those really harsh New Smyrna years, survival foods were critical. Things like gopher tortoises, even sea turtle eggs. They often made the difference between starvation and survival. Usina remembers eating them as a boy.
Wow. Necessity.
Absolute necessity. So these weren't just meals. They were acts of cultural continuity, acts of survival. It deeply embedded this seafood culture into their identity.
Remarkable. What a vivid taste of history, even if some of it's an acquired one. And it's not just food and fishing, is it? You mentioned crafts, too.
Yes, exactly. Mike Usina, the same guy, at 75, he still hand makes cast nets. Been doing it for 65 years.
65 years.
Yeah. He calls it a dying art. He knows it's no longer something you do just for practical reasons or economic ones, but for him, it's this profound way of keeping his Menorcan tradition alive, a skill passed down meticulously from his father, Julian.
A physical link to his heritage.
Exactly. A tactile memory. It shows how tradition can be valued over just utility. And this dedication to ancestral crafts, it just further cements their unique cultural footprint.
So these traditions then, the fiery datil pepper, the maybe excessive mullet, the intricate craft of net making,
Yeah.
they aren't just hobbies. They're vital, tangible threads in the fabric of their identity. They create this deep sense of belonging. And what's fascinating is how these elements seem to combine to create this real badge of pride for people like Janice Strickland. It gives them a distinct sense of place in Florida's long history.
That's a perfect way to put it. And their lasting impact, you see it everywhere, subtly shaping the region still. Minorcan names, they're on streets, bridges like the Usina Bridge in St. Augustine,
I've seen that.
and businesses all over the region. Glenda Frawley, she's with the Minorcan Cultural Society. She estimates maybe 20,000 people just in St. Johns County have links back to the original Minorcans.
20,000, that's significant.
It really is. And descendants have spread out now, all over the country. Mike Usina mentioned seeing Minorcans connecting on Facebook from North Carolina, Virginia, Texas, California. It's a widespread network.
A diaspora, almost.
Kind of, yeah. But St. Augustine, he says, is still unequivocally the homeland, the cultural heart.
It sounds like this really widespread, yet still deeply connected community. It makes you wonder, though, how does that sense of identity carry across generations, especially today, in a world where cultures often blend and distinctions can fade?
That brings us to a really crucial point, doesn't it? How cultural identity evolves. Now, Sam Floyd, he's 69, he does observe that sometimes younger generations seem maybe less interested. He notes, old-timers have died and the family's moved away.
A familiar story, maybe.
It can be. But it's definitely not a universal trend of just fading away. You see others like Janice Strickland. She's 63. She feels this incredibly strong pull. She recognizes her actual Menorcan heritage, like on a DNA test, is probably just a smidge, she says.
Right, generations later.
Exactly. But the connection is profound. It's rooted in oral history. She says, I remember my grandfather who talked about his grandmother, how she cooked this way, did things that way.
Oh, stories.
The stories. It really highlights how memory and narrative, maybe even more than pure lineage, can sustain identity. It suggests that actively telling the stories, passing down traditions, that's vital. It keeps reinforcing the sense of belonging. And it resonates powerfully, even if the direct bloodline is diluted over time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Even Sam Pachetti, the musician we mentioned, he admitted he was kind of ambivalent about his heritage growing up, but now he profoundly appreciates the community's emphasis on family, that practical support system. So there's this intergenerational continuity, even if engagement levels shift. The story keeps going.
And a sense of ownership.
Oh, yeah. There's this palpable sense of ownership, too. Sam Floyd, he sums it up laughing. He says, we feel like we own the place. And it ties right back to those ancestral links, to a time even before Florida was a state. It's a testament to just how deep their roots run there.
What an absolutely incredible journey we've traced here. I mean, from indentured servitude, unimaginable hardship on those ships.
Just awful.
Through the brutal reality of New Smyrna, finding sanctuary, and then ultimately thriving in St. Augustine, the Minorcans really have forged this incredibly enduring community. Their story, it's just such a powerful testament, isn't it, to how shared history, unique food, unwavering faith, and those unbreakable family bonds, how they all weave together to maintain a distinct cultural identity across generations, centuries even, and profoundly shaping the fabric of Northeast Florida.
Absolutely. And if you connect this to maybe the bigger picture, the story of the Minorcans really makes us think about what truly defines a community, how deeply rooted traditions, often forged in terrible adversity, can keep shaping the character of a place and its people for centuries. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the unseen threads of history holding your own community together? What stories, maybe right in your own backyard, are just waiting to be uncovered, waiting to reveal the unexpected origins of the place you call home?
Those are powerful questions to ponder. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary and truly enduring legacy of the Minorcans of Northeast Florida.